I'm Kerry Anderson, and prior to working with Michael Jackson as the Director of Security, I worked LAPD for several years. I worked narcotics. I was considered a court-qualified narcotics expert. I dealt with Arnold Klein a couple of times. Michael had me go down and pick him up once and bring him to Neverland. I walked Dr. Klein probably 20 feet from the courtyard area inside Michael's main residence. I walked him upstairs to Michael's room. Michael had requested get Dr. Klein something to drink. So I went back downstairs, and myself and another personnel in the house, and we weren't gone any more than, I would say, 4 minutes at the most. And by the time I got back up, Michael was so out of it. So whatever he gave him, I've never seen a narcotic do somebody like that so quick, because Michael was perfectly normal when I went upstairs, and in a 4-minute period, he was almost a zombie. So it must have been some kind of injection of something. And at times you'd want to put hands on people like that. I don't have a lot of good things to say about people like that. He's disgusting to me.
Scene one, take one, ABC mark.
My name is Debbie Rowe, and I worked with Dr. Arnold Klein for 27 years and would assist him in the back with patients. I did everything from acne surgery to prescribing medications.
It got a little better.
Yeah.
Dr. Klein was a brilliant dermatologist. He could walk into the room, look at you, almost give you a family history of who you were and what diseases were in the family and stuff like that. When Dr. Klein started treating famous people, celebrities, powerful people, he started to be invited to their parties and things like that. And I think it influenced some of the ways that he thought. And he enjoyed going to the parties. If he was having a get-together or a party, they would all be invited. He enjoyed living that lifestyle. He did try very hard to be of the rich and famous. Anybody who sees a particular group of patients that they are in awe of or enamored with will do almost anything to get another person of that caliber into the practice. It ends up being more of a friendship than it is a professional relationship. You pick who you hang with, and he is a person that you want to hang with because you're going to be able to get something in return. There were times that he would write prescriptions for things that had nothing to do with what we were treating them for. You know, some people would come in and say they can't take the pain, so they would want a Percocet, or they would want Demerol, or they would want something else.
I believe very firmly that you're only as good as the last patient you inject.
So there might be someone, they were a big star. He would write prescriptions that were not conducive to what a dermatologist would normally write a prescription for.
The primary responsibility of any doctor is the patient care. I mean, we take an oath to, above all else, do no harm. And giving someone massive doses of narcotics for an everyday trivial procedure is clearly a breach of the person's medical care.
You don't give Xanax because someone says they can't sleep. You don't give them Demerol because they have pain that they either aren't monitoring, don't have anyone moderating it and watching it, or they just want it. They would ask Dr. Klein to write a prescription because they were having a party and a bunch of people were coming and they wanted to have party favors. We had some powerful patients that would come in and say, I need to get 90 Percocet for Saturday night. And then you go to the party that weekend and there's a candy dish with Percocet or Quaaludes or something like that. And it came from the office by trading drugs for the invitation, the inclusion. You know, he just wanted to be in that group. I don't know if he knew the person was an addict, but didn't care because he didn't want to lose that person as a patient, but it was done. And there were a lot of doctors out there with the same patients that would do the same thing.
It's narcissism. It's gratifying to have a special person under your care and that person to then be satisfied and tell you you're a good doctor. And it helps build people's reputation. You become, particularly in the sort of field of plastics and dermatology and beauty, you become the doctor that's taking care of those people we see in the magazines.
Sometimes patients had obvious signs of addiction, injection marks all over their body.
I was mortified when I found out that patients were so addicted to something that you couldn't sedate them or whatever. You have to start an IV if you're going to sedate someone. And not being able to find a vein to start an IV, there was no place to be able to do it. I do believe boundaries were down and lines were crossed that should not have been. Prescriptions were written that didn't need to be written. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
It is such a violation of our basic responsibility and ethical standards as a physician to be treating people to make ourselves feel special. In other words, we are there to serve the patient. And if we are somehow excited by or turned on by the patients we are treating, there's already a problem. And then if you are handing out medication without proper justification, it just doesn't get worse than that. We went through 2 decades of my patients being killed routinely by my peers, and it was often in situations like this.
I feel horrible about not trying to stop it with people that I knew had problems. And there's nothing I can do to take it back. And if someone was hurt by it, saying I'm sorry isn't enough. To me, it's like, I should have tried harder. I should have tried to stop it. I should have done more. I should have done something. And I didn't. And at the end, you're ultimately responsible for what you've done, how you've participated. You have to take responsibility for it. There's a number of people that have died from their addictions And in some way, I was part of it. Give me a minute. You know, it's hard when you feel like you're part of the problem and you don't stop. I just think I should have been a better person than I was. I sucked as a human being for years when I think about it. I was basically as bad as him. And I regret that. I will regret it. And I'm so sorry that I participated in it.
If I had known that Michael was going to a dermatologist's office or any doctor and being shot up or dripped up with opioids on a daily basis.
The way that Michael went about getting all these drugs was doctor shopping. He had multiple different doctors that he was involved with, and he would